Today we're going to talk about human rights violations in Azerbaijan. Although the situation has been for many years very dire, in the light of the events in the Karabakh region, the local civil society activist has started to experience even more pressure. And today we're going to discuss some prominent cases of abductions, reprisals, and we'll talk about freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, basic fundamental human rights that have been violated for many years in Azerbaijan and, according to us, did not get enough attention of the international community. So today our panelists will be Ms. Diana Nazarets, representing the Institute for Human Rights that organizes this event. Mr. Anar Mamadli, Human Rights Defender, Head of Election Monitoring and Democracy Studies Center. Sevinç Mirzaeva, Journalist, Head of Osman Kizi TV. Ibad Bayramov, son of the prisoner of conscience Gubat Ibadoglu, Human Rights Activist. And Mr. Emin Husseinov, Human Rights Defender, CEO of IRFS. I would just like to make a short remark saying that this event is not sponsored by any mission and is entirely done by the NGO, and also that we kindly ask you to let us know if you don't wish to be photographed. When you will be hearing the interventions of our speakers from the WebEx, please use your headphones as you will not be able to hear them on the floor. So now I would like to give the word to Ms. Diana Nazarets from the Institute for Human Rights.
Thank you, Ms. Pavlova. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizers of the event, I would like to warmly welcome you today and thank you for finding the time out of your busy schedules, especially on Friday. We would like to elaborate more on human rights violations in Azerbaijan, and as it has already gained increasing international attention, it is our collective responsibility to shine a spotlight on these pressing concerns. Following the discussion on the Secretary General's report, we find it especially timely to address human rights violations in one of the countries that claims to fulfill its binding obligations, though the testimonies that our panelists will share today are particularly alarming and exemplify Azerbaijan's failure to comply with international human rights norms and standards, as the problem of arbitrary detention and reprisals continues to deteriorate. Reprisals in any form are a threat to the values of dignity and respect for all individuals. They undermine the pursuit of justice and the advancement of human rights. Arbitrary detentions, which deprives individuals of their liberty without just cause or due process, is a grave violation of human rights that cannot be tolerated. And it's needless to say that the number of political prisoners in Azerbaijan increased from 99 to more than 200 people in a year, including journalists, civil rights activists, and opposition politicians. The crackdown on civil society in Azerbaijan is more obvious than ever, while reprisal from the government remained the key instrument for intimidation. Even while organizing this side event, many speakers refused our invitation, being afraid of their personal safety and the safety of their families. As the government of Azerbaijan targets critics even outside of the country, exiled civil society is very reluctant to resort to international human rights protection means. Thus, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the panelists who will be joining us today and who will be sharing their expertise despite a wide self-censorship among Azerbaijani civil society. We are privileged to have you all here, and thus I pass the floor back to moderator, and I'm looking forward to an insightful discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Nazarets. Indeed, the testimonies that you will hear today are quite precious because obtaining them is a risk for the people who are ready to give them, despite all the possible persecutions that they may face. So we want to especially thank them for the courage of taking the floor today. And with that, I'm passing the word to Mr. Anar Mamadli, Human Rights Defender and Head of Election Monitoring and Democracy Studies Center. Mr. Mamadli, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this event. It's also for me great honor to take this floor today. So this topic is unfortunately very traditional for Azerbaijan. For many years in Azerbaijan, the political attacks against civil society organizations are manifested in two forms: activities of independent civil society groups and human rights defenders are harassed and legal, political, discriminatory policies pursued against these groups, these organizations. Also, there are some moral and psychological attacks against independent civil society leaders aimed by government to discredit them in public, in front of society. So for many years, human rights defenders have been accused of being involved, for example, in foreign enemy circles or financing opposition political parties in Azerbaijan. So regarding our last couple of years, approximately last 10 years, the crackdown on civil society organizations and human rights defenders continued. For example, right after 2013 presidential election, the criminal charges were followed by specific legal sanction and criminal cases were raised against civil society groups. One of them, for example, was Election Monitoring and Democracy Study Center, which I headed. And other the civil society groups also face such criminal cases. So since 2013 in Azerbaijan, situation for civil society groups became very dramatic. Three forms of the attacks, three forms of the restriction appeared by government. First type of the restriction are legal. For example, they adopted a lot of the restrictive, regressive amendments, which operation of the civil society organization created impossible in country. Many civil society groups left country. Also, criminal charges against civil society groups started since 2013. Some other human rights defenders were jailed by government on the basis of the illegal the accusation. Most of the accusation was about tax evasion, illegal entrepreneurship, or abuse of the power, which is not related to our activity. And government for many years tried to show that those human rights groups, especially critical voices, independent groups, are criminals. For example, Leyla Yunus or Rasul Jafarov, Intigram Aliyev, Khadija Ismail, recently three other prominent people, the human rights activist Bakhtiyar Hajiyev, also former member of the parliament Nazım Baydamirli, and a very prominent the scholar and independent, the head of the independent movement, Gubadi Badoğlu, are in jail on the basis of such a the criminal accusation, illegal accusation. So in general, situation in Azerbaijan didn't change last the 10 years when crackdown started in 2013. Also, I want to also underline that there are a special international human rights mechanism which Azerbaijan is a part of this mechanism. One of them is the European Convention and European Court of Human Rights. Azerbaijan is under jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights. But despite our case, for example, some other human rights defenders applied to European Court of Human Rights and they recognize our the freedoms, our rights, and they adopted judgments regarding these cases. For example, repeatedly, Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe called on Azerbaijan government to restore rights of human rights activists and government critics, which were arrested in 2013 and 2014. There are, for example, 7 applicants, still they are waiting for the quashing of their criminal conviction. But Azerbaijan government didn't. Azerbaijan government always ignored those calls by Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. So, for example, the European Court of Human Rights recognized that in Mammadli Group case, which adopted by European Court of Human Rights and under supervision of the European Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe, so that this detention and deprivation of the liberty of the 7 applicants violated Article 18 of the Convention, European Convention, for their active political and social participation, criticism of the government, human rights and election monitoring activity. But since then, Azerbaijan government, since 2018, when this case adopted, government of Azerbaijan are reluctant to implement these measures and to complete restoration of the 7 applicants' rights and freedoms. This kind of lack of action raised serious concerns about systematic disregard for human rights. as evidenced by Article 18 violation. It should be noted that authority of Azerbaijan failed to take any necessary legal measures, specifically Supreme Court has not quashed the conviction concerning remaining applicants in this group. So I also wanted to mention that in 2020, Azerbaijan, as a member of the Council of Europe, Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe adopted a resolution on reported case of political prisoners in Azerbaijan. This resolution calls to Azerbaijan government to subject the case of person on the most extensive, detailed, and regularly updated list of the alleged political prisoners to review by independent and impartial body and to release these people political prison in accordance with the definition set by a resolution of the Parliamentary Assembly and the criteria of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. However, since 2020, the number of the political motivated charges and administrative detention increased dramatically in Azerbaijan. At the moment, there are more than 100 political prisoners who became victims of the political repression due to their social and political participation in political life of the country. For example, I can give you another example. More than 150 participants were administratively detained in 11 peaceful rallies which held between 2019 and 2023. During those peaceful rallies, people detained by police, some of them, for example, got administrative detention. There are, for example, some cases that the people subjected torture in police department. So this kind of situation is alarming for Azerbaijan, and I want to finish my remarks now, and in future during the discussion I can answer your question or respond some other issues raised by participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mamadli. It is indeed a very alarming trend in recent years to see the use of legal loopholes to target government critics. Laws and regulations have been manipulated to bring bogus charges against individuals who dare to challenge the authorities. We also witnessed that a lot of prisoners, political prisoners, are charged with religious charges, with charges that have nothing to do with their critics, government critics, but that are directly related to that. So with that, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Sevinç Mirzaeva, journalist and head of Osman Kizi TV. Ms. Sevinç, you have the floor.
Hello, good morning. Well, good afternoon. Over the years, I have witnessed a tightening grip on free speech in my homeland, Azerbaijan. First, the doors of mainstream media were slammed shut, stifling the voices of dissent. Then the government set its sights on social media, trying to silence those who dared to challenge the powerful. One such courageous soul was Bakhtiar Hajiev, an influencer whose Facebook page provided a unique perspective on Azerbaijan. With humor and insight, he exposed injustices and criticized, whenever needed, the government. As a passionate photographer, he captured moments from North Korea to Karabakh, revealing hidden truths. Like the government demolishing buildings without informing the rightful owners who had waited years to return home. His reward for his bravery, a demonstrative imprisonment meant to intimidate anyone else thinking of exposing corrupt officials. Consider the case of Gubat Ibadoglu, a renowned economist whose insightful analysis were unparalleled. Together, we produced series of video programs that discuss the anatomy of state corruption. His expertise could have been a beacon for our nation, guiding us toward economic recovery and a better life for our citizens. Yet today, Gubat Ibadoglu languishes in prison, accused of ridiculous charges that, as we say in Azerbaijan, even a cooked chicken would find laughable. Both Bakhtiar Hajiev and Gubat Ibadoglu should be freed immediately and unconditionally. Then there were rights enthusiasts like Ali Aliyev, a politician, Abid Ghafarov, a blogger, both imprisoned for daring to expose the government corruption. They were eventually pardoned by the dictator, but not without a cost. Ali Aliyev's party was forcibly closed, and Abid Ghafarov had to shut down his YouTube channel. Speaking truth can lead to the loss of freedom or even worse, one's life. And let's not forget Mr. Nazim Beydamirli, outspoken businessman imprisoned merely because for expressing sympathy for protesters in a climate-troubled village called Söğütlü. It saddens me to say that in Azerbaijan, the simple act of expressing one's thoughts, writing a Facebook post or a tweet, can now lead to a prison term. At this very moment, the world is watching as thousands of ethnic Armenians are leaving Karabakh, seeking refuge in Armenia. History has taught us that in times of conflict, authoritative rule can tighten its grip even further. I fear for what lies ahead in a region where arms talk, media is silenced, the truth is suppressed, and dissent is crushed. Make no mistake, turning a blind eye only fuels further repression. In Azerbaijan, there are over 200 political prisoners, according to the Institute of Peace and Democracy, activists who are silenced, feeding the public propaganda instead of truth, nurturing animosity instead of neighborly coexistence. Millions of Azerbaijanis deserve to live free in their own homeland. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mirzaeva. Indeed, as you mentioned, the number of political prisoners has been increasing for the last few years, and it is indeed a very alarming trend. And in the light of the recent event in the Karabakh region, the government of Azerbaijan backlashed by a series of arrests and arbitrary detention. At least 5 people known for publicly criticizing the attack were arrested in the last few days. But now I would like to go back indeed to the case of Dr. Ibadoglu, and I would like to present Ibad Bayramov, son of the prisoner of conscience and a human rights activist. Ibad, please, I would like to hear a bit more about your father's state and your father's case.
Hello. I'm honored to be here and share the truth about the fate of Dr. Gubadbadova, unlawfully imprisoned social and political activist, who is also my father. Renowned economic scholar and civil rights defender Dr. Gubadbadova is also a London School of Economics and Political Science visiting fellow. Instead of continuing his research on corruption, embezzlement, and money laundering and teaching students at the university, Dr. Gubadbadova is in the detention center waiting for his trial to be imprisoned up to 12 years. Dr. Gubad is punished as a government critic and for his further investigation of the elite's illegal assets abroad. Dr. Gubad is an advocate of sustainable development goals and human rights. He is a member of the working groups on grant corruption and state capture and asset stolen recovery of the Ankara Coalition Association for Implementing the UN Convention Against Corruption. Dr. Gubad has been in exile since 2015 because of the significant crackdown on civil society. He returned after the decision of the European Courts of Human Rights gave the judgment regarding his and many other NGOs, including where he was the chair of the Economic Research Center's frozen bank accounts, and the court decided that it was a violation of human rights. Later on, together with the help of the Gongos, the government gave false hopes to the activists and human rights defenders that they can come back to the country and will not face any trial. Right now, the country has more than 200 political prisoners, more than doubled since the arrest of, more than doubled since last September 2022. And only in the last 2 weeks, we witnessed 5 political imprisonment under bogus charges. On July 23rd, 20 days after Dr. Gubad returned, he and his wife, Ivada Bayramova, when driving their car, crushed by the police, and police physically and psychologically abused them. They were kept in the separate room without no access to lawyer for hours. The psychological abuse by the Azerbaijan police still haunts my mother till this day. Since the imprisonment, Azerbaijan government, through their sellout news agencies, published massive amount of propaganda to discredit Dr. Gubat in the eyes of public and create a basis for any further action they were planning to take, just like they do with any other political imprisonments. Needless to say, the people of Azerbaijan have had enough of the government's propaganda machine after 30 years of lying to their faces, and the publications that were trying to degrade Dr. Gubat did not work out. Desperate due to losing the media, while Azerbaijan government ransacked Dr. Gubat's son, my brother Emin's room in the US. We are all being followed under constant transnational threats by the Azerbaijan government. They have published private videos and photos of Dr. Gubat and his family members through the phone they hijacked from Dr. Gubat. There's no more high ground for the government of Azerbaijan, just like any other authoritarian regimes. The trumped-up allegations of Dr. Gubat vary widely. He has been accused of planning to overthrow the government, receiving millions of money from the Western countries, helping other adversaries of Azerbaijan to plan the coup d'etat within Azerbaijan, and the list goes on. The most important ones, the ones that he has been officially charged with, are the charges of counterfeit money and religious extremism. The illegal research occurred in the office he only used 9 years ago for the Economic Research Center, where he has now been for 9 years and hasn't done any work for 9 years. Police planted counterfeit money and tampered with the work, and the current office manager could not get inside the office on the morning of the 23rd of July. Additionally, police stated that they found religious books among the documents, but none of those books are mentioned in the search protocol. How those books appeared is unknown. The fake witness claimed that Dr. Gubat was preparing for protests in autumn, even though in reality Dr. Gubat would continue his research at the Dresden University of Technology and leave Azerbaijan at the end of August. That was his plan, but he is now kept in jail and he cannot go to Germany to start his fellowship program in the two Dresden University. All false accusations are, quote by quote, justified under these proofs. All our requests for house arrest are denied without justification by the local courts. The main concern about Dr. Gubat is his health conditions. Dr. Gubat suffers from high diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and kidney diseases, and must be under strict diet and doctor examination. Dr. Gubat's health is deteriorating rapidly, and he has a dilution of the heart vein, which has diluted from 3.7 millimeter to 4.1 millimeter, which put his life at the risk of heart attack. Following his arrest and the declining health conditions, the European Human Rights Court granted Rule 39, which stated that Dr. Gubat needs to undergo adequate medical examination and receive adequate treatment, and that the government provides regular updates to the European Court about the health condition of the applicant and the treatment provided, and if needed, it may be necessary to transfer Dr. Gubat to a specialized medical institution. Despite this, Azerbaijan government has not done anything to help Dr. Gubat with his health problems. The conditions of Dr. Gubat in prison are dire, and his health conditions are continuing to deteriorate despite European Parliament urgent resolution or the Rule 39 granted by the European Court of Human Rights. Azerbaijan has become one of the worst authoritarian regimes, which calls for the UN to step in. According to the Freedom House Index, Azerbaijan ranked worse than countries like Russia, Iran, and even before the country doubled its political prisoners. Country has their land and water borders shut down, adopted very strict laws on journalism and parties. While a special rapporteur on the human rights condition of Belarus, Russia, and Iran has existed for years, that make it more mandatory for the appointment of special rapporteur on the human rights condition of Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan's human rights conditions are in pair with the countries like Russia and Iran. Dr. Gubat's case should be monitored very highly, and we ask the UN Human Rights High Commissioner we ask them to take the initiative to visit Dr. Gubat in the detention center, start communication with the government for Dr. Gubat imprisonment, and also all the other politically imprisoned activists, and state a demand for his immediate and unconditional release. Azerbaijan human rights situation, Dr. Gubat's illegal detention, targeting of our family and relatives, and transnational aggression towards us must be a condition for any bilateral communication and deals with Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibad, and we wish you a lot of courage in surmounting this situation. Indeed, as you mentioned, the case of Dr. Ibadoglu is very prominent because of his achievements, but many other cases, namely those of 200 people, also continue to pose a lot of questions to how international community can react and what can be done to address the human rights violation in Azerbaijan. So now I would like to pass the word to Mr. Amin Husseinov, a human rights defender and CEO of Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety.
Thank you for organizing such kind of events. I would like to say, first of all, from all of these 200 arbitrarily detained people, approximately 150 of them is like peaceful believers, which is arrested with fake accusations, but most of these people staying behind the bar without access even to lawyers. And same situation we observe with even famous human rights activists, such kind of Bakhtiar Hajiev or Avaz Zeynalli and other people, and with also representative of new generations. For example, just few days, weeks ago, we have new generation of political prisoners, which is like named like trade union activists. I want to mention especially names of Afiadi Mamadov, Ayhan Israfilov, and Elvin Mustafayev. The people, these three young persons try to defend their labor rights, but even they are politically prosecuted and jailed with fake criminal charges, like hooliganism, drug charges, and other. I want to mention few cases like Rashad Ramazanov, blogger, Bakhtiar Hajiev, famous human rights activist, and Avaz Zeynalli, also famous journalist. Three of these prisoners of conscience, they are already received like second imprisonment, like because it's like, as we always say, it's like revolving door. If you spend like few years in prison, in political detention after, for example, European Court for Human Rights decision or international pressure, government decide release or pardoning these people, but this is not warranted for you not jail again. And this, for example, three my colleagues, they are jailed after few years when they continued their struggle inside Azerbaijan, when they do not decide to leave the country as I decide to do, they are jailed. And we don't have any warranties for other people, which is still bravely defend human rights and civic space in Azerbaijan. And that's what it's important to organize such kind of events to make additional attention and raise awareness around these cases. My colleagues already mentioned Gubat Ibadoglu case. It's one of the famous case, and recently European Parliament adopted strong resolution to call to release Gubat Ibadoglu and all 200 political prisoners. But I want to say why it's continued, because even if Azerbaijan get membership in the Council of Europe more than 20 years ago, year by year we lose our capacity as like civil society to defend Council of Europe human rights and democracy values. Why? Because our old partners like EU, Council of Europe members, like-minded states, they decide to do not argue with Azerbaijani government because Azerbaijani government provide additional oil and gas resources that help to EU increase their dependency from Russian oil and gas, but who paid this huge price? It's Azerbaijani people, Azerbaijani population, and Azerbaijani civil society and independent media and political opposition. Because it's less and less we heard critical voices from stakeholders like Council of Europe, EU, or another international organization when Azerbaijan take membership. How it's possible to change situation? My colleagues mentioned about a strong instrument as like European Court for Human Rights, but I would like to remind, for this is long-term legal tools. Sometimes victims need to wait 10 years. Imagine you waiting 10 years to get fair decision. And when you release, as like Bakhtiar, you're jailed again, or like Avaz Zeynalov or Rashad Ramazanov. And in current reality, we believe it's important to provide a strong international solidarity and push President Aliyev in all international platforms. For example, we would like to address special to head of the EU member states to take opportunities and push President Aliyev during the upcoming European Political Community Summit in Granada, which is supposed to take place on 5th and 6th October this year, in a week. Azerbaijan getting membership since this important new political community established, and it's one of the 46 member states which is supposed to respect all of these European values, but Azerbaijani president and government denied to respect these values. We believe for European Union, biggest trade partner of Azerbaijan, have power, and countries like the UK, US, also able to push to Azerbaijani government, and it's important. We understand for right now, many international stakeholders try to engage with Azerbaijani government on situation, what's happened in Karabakh region when thousands Armenians decide to leave Karabakh. We hope one day they return back and stay together with Azerbaijan on the safe condition. But my question is, if we can't able to provide together safety and respect for human rights, rule of law, and democracy in Azerbaijan, we believe, as like human rights defenders, for situation not be improved in the upcoming future, and in situation when state propaganda able to use narratives when Azerbaijani government, after long years, able to deliberate the territories, Aliyev, it's possible for current authoritarian regime switch from strong totalitarian, and it's like we're afraid for in next upcoming years when we expect parliamentary and local and presidential elections. Azerbaijani civil society and all outspoken voices probably get much stronger and worse pressure compared with the previous 2 decades. As like I told, Azerbaijan member of the Council of Europe since 2001, and it's more than 22 years situation with fundamental human rights and democracy standards completely degraded. And again, we try to mention many cases, but and we would like to call to international stakeholders again to do not leave these victims alone. At least it's European Union who is collaborating trade with Azerbaijan government, US, via their intergovernmental agencies and institutions able to help to these people. Like recently, Samantha Power, she visited Azerbaijan yesterday. She speak with, as like you say, they published, they discussed humanitarian situation in Karabakh. But we would like to stakeholders, like high-level stakeholders, when they visited Azerbaijan, they also able to meet with the civil society representatives, ask how they can able to provide them assistance, and at least provide all possible tools, like especially legal protections, humanitarian support for people who get strong pressure from law enforcement agencies and from Azerbaijani government in general. I would like to stop my intervention here and with pleasure able to respond for more detailed questions if you have.
Thank you, Mr. Husseinov, for the insightful speech, and thank you again to all the panelists for bringing to us some new information on the existing cases and also highlighting one more time the crackdown of the human rights in Azerbaijan. So now I would like to open the floor to the intervention from the permanent missions, if anyone would like to speak. And if not, we are also welcome to any questions from the NGOs or other representatives here. And don't hesitate to ask questions. And I remind you just to name yourself and your organization.
I think it's everything clear. We can make a return to conclusion remark.
So if you have no questions, we will conclude today's event.
Maybe you can give the floor.
Yes. I hope that it once again helped everyone. We already did one event and we will continue doing side events to bring you more information on the cases. Journalists, activists, and human rights activists, defenders face threats, harassment, imprisonment for merely expressing their criticism of the government. The stifling of the dissenting voices undermines the principles of democracy and the right to freedom of expression, which are essential component to the just society. We believe that empowering civil society, exerting diplomatic pressure, and applying existing international mechanisms are the first step towards opening the door to the more democratic and free society in Azerbaijan. So any help from your countries on this one will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for attending today's event, and please do not hesitate if you have any questions to come and speak to us. Thank you.
Shall we give it any conclusion remark? Maybe you can ask our colleagues.
I don't know if Anar, Sevinch, or Ibat, you would like to add something. If yes, please take the floor.
Yeah, can I? Yes, if it's possible. Thank you again. It's very important to have such an international forum and discussions to raise Azerbaijan, our findings regarding human rights situation in Azerbaijan. In conclusion, I want to say that so they are the political will is very important to respect human rights commitments of Azerbaijan under UN and Council of Europe other international documents. So Azerbaijan government concretely has to ensure equal participation in political and public life without fear, intimidation, in respect to independent and oppositional views, by providing fully transparent court hearings, court process right now regarding people who are in jail right now, and there is right now investigation process for some political motivated cases, but we also expect in upcoming months they will start court hearings, court process. So this process should be transparent for everyone, for media, for non-government organizations, and also the member of the diplomatic missions, a member of the international organizations. They have to get a chance to monitor this court process against the political motivated regarding political motivated charges and regarding the prominent people who are in jail right now. For example, Kubadi Badoğlu's case, Nazim Baydemirli's, Bakhtiar Hajiyev's case are very prominent case in Azerbaijan, and there are a lot of interest. But in our practice, Azerbaijan government tried to make these court process, court hearings are not open to whole audience and restrict attendance level. So that's why I think UN institutions and permanent missions and Council of Europe, European Union, those institutions should be active in our upcoming court hearings process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the closing remarks. I also would like to give the word to Sevinch Osmakizli, please.
So much. Just a few things. First of all, as you know, the situation in Azerbaijan is in the world headlines today. But those cases that were mentioned and many more hardly get into news ever. And simply because there are no news stories does not mean that the situation gotten better. It actually is the other way around. We mentioned only a couple of them, but really we're talking about over 200 people. Some of them are, as we call them, permanent prisoners because they've been in prison for over 20 years. Some of them were like almost 25, 27 years in prison. They leave the prison when they die. This is the situation, and it's very hard to find their relatives who would speak to us because they're fear for their own safety and security. So I guess what I would like to say is that, for instance, the case with Gobati Badoglu, I cannot stress enough how important, how urgent it is, because we are not. There is a basically public execution going on. There is no court ruling yet. There's no investigation. There are no proofs, no evidence is there. But the person is been executed in front of our eyes. He's been deprived of his medicines for weeks. They lie about his real situation, health situation. They give us bogus information as if he's even healthy, like 18-year-old guy. So therefore, it is very hard to bring light into these scenes when there is a huge propaganda machine working on the other side and giving this information not only to the public, to international organizations, to lie, to cheat, so that they turn a blind eye. And with so many things, with so much going on in the world, I know that it is very hard to focus on these things, on people that have been in prison already for 27 years. Or influencer or bloggers, but I cannot just stress enough how important it is that the world does not turn blind eye, does not stay ignorant. It is good that those stories from Karabakh are in headlines. They deserve it. We're talking about thousands of people, but let's not forget about millions of people in Azerbaijan who also live like a prison while being in freedom. I just needed to stress that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And as you said, we understand the urgency of the situation, and also understand that a lot of people who work in exile still face the same threats, or that people that are working within the country doing something that is almost impossible to do, meaning defending the basic human rights to the freedom of expression, of assembly. And we thank you for your voice during this Human Rights Council. I would like to give the word to Ibad Bayramov to conclude.
Also, I would like to mention that we have this issue over 20 years now. If you think about it, with the same government for the 20 years, nothing has really changed, which shows that there must be concrete steps taken by the Western organizations and the countries, stakeholders in Azerbaijan, to try to actually bring Azerbaijan towards more to the democracy rather than the authoritarian regime that they are in right now. We have seen that Azerbaijan is a member of the Council of Europe. Azerbaijan has adopted the European Court of Human Rights Convention, and that means that there are some leverage that this organization, these countries have over Azerbaijan that they could use. I think in the case of Azerbaijan, it's important to stress that an action is required better soon than later, because if there will be an action taken later, it might be too late to actually turn Azerbaijan to the other way around and bring it to the democratic way. So I think it's important to stress that there's an urgent need for an action from the stakeholders in Azerbaijan, and I know that without such action, the political and social activism in Azerbaijan is there to die and cannot move forward like this. So this is something that I think is very important to stress, that without any action there won't be any sort of activism that will be left in the future couple of years. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, as everybody mentioned here, maintaining a vitality of the civil society in Azerbaijan is a pressing issue, because civil society is a key to democracy and one of the very important mechanisms of democracy, and it's been consistently shut down in Azerbaijan for the past few years. So now I would like to give the concluding word to Ms. Nazarets from the Institute for Human Rights.
It's on, sorry. So firstly, I would like to thank the panelists for their insightful statements and for the restless work that they are doing in the sphere of human rights protection. And having heard these testimonies, it is of particular importance. And actually, as we have 10 minutes more, I would like to encourage a brief discussion on what more can be done to enhance the support for Azerbaijani civil society, both exile-based and that is left within the country, because as I already mentioned, it was particularly challenging to find the panelists, to find those who dare to speak and those who were not silenced by the repressions of Azerbaijani government. So if any of the panelists or any of our guests on site can provide ideas on how can we more jointly help Azerbaijani civil society to be more powerful, I would like to hear some ideas. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very
Is it
much.
possible?
I believe
Yeah.
Mr. Mamadi wants to say something, right?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. It's very important. Yeah. Unfortunately, in last couple of years, despite the fact that the political repression increased in Azerbaijan, we are seeing, for example, less attention from international institutions, especially the rooms and space limited in Azerbaijan. It's very difficult, for example, for my organization, for some other independent groups, to organize public forums in Baku, because for independent groups, all these spaces are closed by government. Central government, even not in Baku, in regions of Azerbaijan, it is difficult to organize public forums, public events. So also international institutions left country. There is no office of the OSCE, Baku office not anymore active in Azerbaijan. But some institutions like UN delegation, EU delegation, or Council of Europe, they can, for example, initiate different type of the discussions regarding implementation of the, for example, Azerbaijan commitments in terms of the human rights, or implementation of the judgments adopted by European Court of Human Rights. These kind of discussions, these kind of topics are very vital to hear critical voices and also to raise our voices. Same type of events, it's very important to organize in different center of the human rights institutions, like in Warsaw, in Brussels, in Strasbourg, in some other, in Geneva. So this kind of event should be regularly. For example, we observe that regarding the human rights situation in Belarus, there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of attempts in different capitals of the Europe. But regarding Azerbaijan, it's not. Compare, for example, Belarus, or Russia, there is a less events. So in the outside of the Azerbaijan. So this kind of events should be much more, and the people should be here in more reality, more findings in terms of human rights violation in Azerbaijan. So this is our expectation from international institutions and also international non-governmental organizations, that they are very active in this field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Husseinov, yes, please.
I just want to add for few points for Anar's recent remarks. It's very good analysis. For example, if we look what US and EU and other like-minded states doing to support civil society in Belarus and in Russia, we didn't see same level of support to Azerbaijani civil society. Russia kicked out from Council of Europe since from 2022, right after when they start invasion to Ukraine. And many international donors understand for it's time for this relocation for Russian civil society, as like Belarus Russian civil society relocated after 2020 elections. Azerbaijan is still member of the Council of Europe. Azerbaijan get membership in the European political community, but who get a benefit from this membership? Only Aliyev government and ruling tribe. And people of Azerbaijan, civil society of Azerbaijan didn't get any benefit. That's what my address to stakeholders as like EU especially. Why? Because EU established for us very good program, European Eastern Partnership program. And 6 member states, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Moldova, Belarus, and Ukraine, 6 countries get membership. And imagine, even Belarusian government decide to left this initiative after 2020, EU make exception and say for even Lukashenko decide we not recognize him. And they start to cooperate with democratic forces of Belarus and civil society of Belarus in exile. But it's uncomparable small attention or support to Azerbaijani civil society. When we call again and try to remind to EU, for guys, we are still member of the Council of Europe. We're member of EU Eastern Partnership Program. Could you please help us as like you help to Belarusian and Russian civil society in exile, for example, also provide support for our partners inside the countries. Many of them struggling. They don't have access to foreign funding because Azerbaijani government make this foreign agent law as like Russia doing before. But it's possible always find flexible mechanism. How you find flexible mechanism to support our colleagues in Belarus and Russia inside the country and in exile. Please do same for Azerbaijani civil society. Otherwise, you can get worse situation, and later or sooner you will supposed to deprive our membership, as like you deprive Russian membership in the Council of Europe. But we do not want to leave these institutions. Even Azerbaijani government recently left AITI, Extra Industries Transparency Initiative, and Open Government Partnership, because government pushing to the civil society and these 2 important institutions deprive Azerbaijani membership. And if it's continued like this, all respectful institutions supposed to deprive our membership, but we want to be part of European political community, and we want same values inside the country. We try to shoulder defend these values with our country-based colleagues and exile-based colleagues, but we need still support. Without this support, institutional, political support, we can survive in the next upcoming years, especially. Thank you. And just to remind, 30 years in Azerbaijan we have the same power. When power delivered from father to son, and now it's possible to in the next generation. If it's continued like this, we have new generation. What we saw in the North Korea, when like grandson to get like presidential power, but we still be member of the all European institution, and it's not true for Azerbaijani people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Husseinov, and thank you to all the panelists. Yes, please, Mr. Postman-Kizi, you want to take the floor, right?
Yes, please. Just picking up on where Amin Husseinov left, he said the power has been transferred from father to son. And my fear is that with the current events unfolding in Karabakh, in Azerbaijan, we're going to see another 30, maybe 50 years of the same rule, authoritarian rule. Not to forget that these events, the conflict, the war only helps the authoritarian regimes. And also, what can be done to change the situation? I myself represent the exile media, but even I think it is fair to say that the only media today left in Azerbaijan who is trying to provide true information or provide some analysis or insight into what's going on indeed in the country is the media that is outside, that is in exile. Simply because I know that the international organizations and others still want to believe that there is a way and they should continue to support the media that is still left in Azerbaijan. And we end up with a situation that that support goes into projects in Azerbaijan, which turn into another form of or more moderate form of government propaganda. So this really is just wasted resources. Whereas the exile media is also target of repressions and bullying. They get, they have to really work hard to survive. The bloggers outside Azerbaijan get stabbed, get beaten up in front of their homes, in front of their families. There are many cases like that with Muhammad Mirzali or Orhan. Sorry, I forgot his last name. Manav Jalilzadeh, bloggers who get attacked simply because they're trying to do with very limited, indeed no resources. Me, myself, I run a YouTube channel and it's just me and nobody else. And the reason I'm saying this is just to give you a picture that if you still see some fight going on, some struggle. It's because that exile media and activists who are already left Azerbaijan are still trying to do something to change. So this is why it's absolutely important to support these activists who are overseas, and also about the media or media as well. It's just no free media currently left in Azerbaijan, and if we don't support the exile media, for instance, the current situation, it's my fear that we're going to be witnessing another 50 years, especially this with euphoria that the authoritarian rule is advancing, is liberating lands, etc., so on and so forth, and it becomes more and more difficult for people
Thank you
to
very much.
understand what we are sacrificing.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have to conclude now. We thank all the panelists and also all who came to today's event to support us. And we will continue, as you mentioned, to exert some pressure and also shed light on the dire situation of human rights in Azerbaijan. Thank you.